Welcome to Connect the Dots Learning Center, Episode 3. Today, I'm going to talk with Eric Miller. Eric has served over 20 years in the financial industry and co-owns a national financial planning company dedicated to serving the needs of healthcare owners as his chief financial advisor, Econologics. He's personally had over 20,000 conversations with practice owners at every phase of ownership. He's published countless articles, videos, and podcasts on various financial topics and is an expert on matters concerning creating economic independence for practice owners in their business and within their household. He's the author of the best-selling book on Amazon, How to Become a Financial Beast. Let's welcome Eric Miller to the show. I'm super happy to have you here today, and I appreciate your time. I just want to hear a little bit about how Econologics started, a little bit about your background. So give me your spiel.
Yeah, pretty simple. You know, we started our firm back in 2008. If you remember, 2008 was probably not the best time to start a financial firm, and that's never a perfect time to do it, is there? But we knew that we wanted to work with healthcare professionals. We wanted to work with people in the healthcare, and we want to work with healthcare owners specifically because I come from a family of healthcare, and I wanted
what's the correlation? Yeah,
and we just I wanted to be able to help people that I've seen that I felt got cookie cutter financial advice for a long time. And so that was really the impetus for, where we started and such. Now, when we got going, I learned pretty early on, though, that if we were going to be any good at helping like private practice owners with their personal finances, we had to know something about how their practice ran. Right. So we had to immerse ourselves in like the business side of healthcare, whether it's physical therapy or pediatrics or dentists or veterinarians and all the different people that we work with. So that's kind of been where we started. And our focus is, we don't work with anyone else. We don't work with, teachers and engineers or, professional athletes. We only stay in working with, people in the healthcare arena.
Okay. Do you probably notice something about their personality, right? We're not great business owners.
It's pretty interesting there. I don't want to generalize, but I kind of will a little bit just because it is there are some that obviously have some very high business acumen, but the majority of people, look, you got into this space because you wanted to help people and you wanted to treat people. And that was the purpose behind it. It wasn't like, because I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars. Right. If we do that, then great. But that's going to take a different set of skills than what they taught you in school. It's going to take, money management skills. It's going to take business skills. It's going to take all these things if you want to be effective at that. Right. So we help, obviously we like to teach people financial principles, really simple financial principles so that, you as an owner can win, because it's hard enough, stressful enough treating patients. And, there's wins, there's days that you win, there's days that you lose. Right. And, I don't want it to also compound itself by looking at your finances and being like, where am I going? Am I winning? What am I doing all this for? I really want to make sure people's, stay on that path because if we can help them with their financial end, that'll incentivize them to want to help more patients. And I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Tell me a little bit about how you guys educate providers. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we work with associates, providers, and then also owners. Most of our clients are owners, but we're starting to work with associates as well. Okay. So I think from how we help owners is, first off, I have to show people like, where you are financially compared to what an optimum scene would look like. Pretty akin to when you're treating someone. Like, I mean, there's an optimum in which you should feel and look and operate. And here's where you're at right now, good, bad, or ugly. So we start there. We have different assessments and things that we do and questions that we ask that will in all different areas of their finances, including their business finances of, what's the quality of your estate plan? How much are you putting away? Do you have, emergency funds? What are your profit margins? Just, these things so that people can look and see, oh, this is where I'm at. And it's not scary. I can confront this.
Hmm.
And then the game then is just to like, have a plan that just bridges the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be in, 7 to 10 years or whatever that time frame would be.
Right. Is there something that comes up kind of repeatedly? Let's talk about like pediatrics in general. I know personally many owners that don't take a paycheck home,
Yes.
and I'm just like, well, I can't fathom that personally, but I hear that a lot, and I'm like, ooh, what
Yeah.
do you think come up?
It happens probably more frequently than what I would like to see.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the most heartbreaking things to see because I see owners how much they undervalue themselves
Hmm.
to the price and what that does to them, like emotionally, what that does to them, in so many different ways. I just have like a little tagline. I was like, love yourself, pay yourself,
Right.
because I think that's something that a lot of people, should do more. But to
Hmm.
your point, I've seen owners not pay themselves for months and months on end so that their staff can get paid
Right.
without them paying themselves. So I'm a little bit more biased towards the owners, obviously, because I want to make
Absolutely.
if they're not doing well, then the practice isn't going to do well and it's not going to be there.
Right.
So I really try to make sure that they set up a system so that they're rewarding themselves, they're compensating themselves correctly for all the things that they do in their practice, and that they're operating on the right targets.
Hmm.
Because I think a lot of people just like when I say what's your make break number, and unfortunately I'll get a lot of people to be like,
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, okay, we
Yeah.
got some work to do, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
How do you kind of break that bleeding heart mentality, I guess? Like there's I've talked to owners where they feel bad, but one thing that I've come to learn doing this for 11 years is if we don't make money, then we can't serve a larger population and we can't make a bigger impact. So it's not about really money, it's about what can you do to serve. But how do you kind of break that mentality with practice owners?
Well, every talk I start with, I mean, before I even introduce my name, I say, having money is virtuous, having money is righteous, and having money is divine.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with you having lots and lots of money.
Hmm.
And you'd be surprised at like what that, I mean, I just see people's face go, oh, thank God someone said it. That it's okay. First have to give them
Yeah.
permission to like say it's okay for you to have money.
Right.
And I need you to stop thinking so much like a practitioner. I mean, look, I want you to think like a practitioner when you're treating, but when you're not treating and you're running your business, I want you to think like an owner investor. I
Hmm.
want you to think like returns do matter. I want you to think like, you don't have to, be a corporate shark to and it's not a win-lose game.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. But there has to be some system set up. I mean, say what you will about corporate America and some of the dastardly things that they do, especially some of the insurance companies,
Right.
but they do know how to manage money. And if you want to be able to compete with them, you're going to have to copy with them their mentality on
Hmm.
finances and money. And a lot of it's just making sure that, like when a dollar comes into your organization, you know where it's going,
Hmm.
and that you plan for your profits to be there. You don't just wish and pray, boy, I hope I'm profitable this month. No, I'm
Right.
I'm planning to be profitable.
Right.
So these are just some things that I think, but to your point, I just want owners to take off the practitioner hat, think more like an owner investor.
Hmm.
And I think that'll change, some of their actions from there.
Yeah. You say in your book, Financial Beast, that your practice will make as much as it needs to make. Can you
Yes.
kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, well, where does money come from? And it's not,
Trees,
doesn't come
right?
from does what's that?
Trees, right?
Yeah, right. A cotton bush, I think it was, or the Federal Reserve prints all
Yeah.
the money, right? The government prints all the money, or the banks have all the money. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, money, it comes from what's called demand or necessity.
Hmm.
And I use this example, probably not a great one, but I go, if your child had to have a surgery or some kind of operation tomorrow, and you needed $20,000 to pay for it, and you didn't have it, would you come up with the money somehow to pay
Hmm.
it? And you're like, yeah, I would. Well, a lot of people are like, well, which child is it? I'm like, well,
Oh, exactly. Which
know.
one is it? Tell me more.
But yes, exactly. But necessity. Okay. And, when you run a business, you have certain necessities, right? You have rent, you have payroll, you have overhead, you have all kinds of quote unquote expenses. And people make, generally speaking, enough money to cover those expenses.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, why isn't your profit viewed as an expense, a necessity?
Hmm.
And that when I go into an organization and we ask them what your make break number is, right? What's the necessity? What do you think you need to make? Okay.
Hmm.
And they're making, I don't know, 100,000, 200,000 a month, whatever the number is. And then we'll say, well, you're underestimating that by about 20%. What? I've accounted for this. I go, you didn't account for your profits, and you need to treat them just like any other expense. And that raises the necessity level. So when
Hmm.
I say that most people are underestimate or not operating at the right level, it's that they're just not accounting for certain things as an expense, and that puts the demand on the business to make it.
Hmm. So you're talking about planning on a profit, and that profit is kind of your wealth building strategy. You talk about
Yeah,
household wealth building. So explain that a little bit more.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the practice should be able to do a few things. Obviously, it should make enough money to cover all of its expenses. It should make enough money so that you can reinvest back into the business to improve it and to expand. It
Hmm.
should make enough money so that you have plenty of business reserves, like at least 2 or 3 months in case there's some kind of an emergency.
Right.
It should make enough money to cover your tax liability personally, because you personally are on the hook for the profit of the business tax wise.
Hmm.
And it should also pay you back, your household, so that you can create other income sources outside of just your practice. Because no one wants to just be reliant upon the practice for the rest of
Hmm.
their lives.
Hmm.
But that's not just going to happen by itself. So we try to make sure that a certain percentage of the practice revenue is channeled from the business to that person's household. And then that money is used not for bigger cars or bigger houses, not that, pediatric owners would, have that kind of avarice or greed or whatever it would be,
Right.
but it should be for building other income sources, whether that's real estate, whether that's stocks and bonds, or whatever other types of investments that you kind of like to do.
Okay.
And that to us is what the business, that's how it should serve you personally.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things that we do, is to show people that it can do that.
Right.
It's not doing it for 90% of owners right now at the level that I think it should.
Yeah. I really like how you talked about running your household like a business,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of like, oh, here's my paycheck. I'm just gonna kind of
Yeah.
spend it. Just having that mentality for both your work and your
For
household.
sure. I mean, your household needs to be treated like a business. It
Mhm.
needs to, you have money that comes in, money that goes out. You have, certain functions of the organization, and you want it to expand and grow, and not be reliant on just one income source.
Mhm.
Just like a business. I mean, you don't want your business to be reliant just on one revenue source. You want to have multiple sources there too. So I think when people start thinking like that a little differently,
Mhm.
and like, yeah, my household's important. Because, I'm sure you've seen a lot of practices that just grow. I mean, I've had practices that got to 4, 5, $6 million in revenue.
Mhm.
And I look at their household and there's nothing there. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going on here? They're like, I
Right.
just, I don't know how to get money out
Yeah.
from this practice, because it just keeps eating it all. And
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, you need some better systems in place
Yeah.
to do
And it
that.
will eat as much as it wants to.
It will eat it all and then go looking for dessert somewhere
Oh,
else. it
yeah.
it just will. That is the biggest issue, I think, with most practice owners right there, is
Mhm.
that they don't realize what kind of a cash eating machine their practice is.
Mhm.
And that's why I don't like to have a dollar that does not have a perp, where the money, when it comes in, exactly where it's going to go. Because
Mhm.
if you don't, it'll get eaten up somewhere.
Yeah.
There's always a demand for money from somebody,
From something. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Tell me your biggest success story. What are you most proud of?
Well,
I know you
I
have
think,
a million.
yeah, there's always like, people that you've seen that started. I mean, we have a number of people that came to us and were pretty broken. And when I say broken in many different ways, their business was doing okay, but they didn't have any money, and they didn't have any money personally. Marriage was on the rocks because of it,
Hmm.
and didn't have really any plan or anything like that. And I can remember there's this one couple that were just like, they were on the verge of divorce and tears and everything. And then I checked back in with my advisor that was working with them for the last 2 years, and it's just a 180-degree turn. They're
Wow.
happy. They love each other again.
Yeah.
They have plenty of money in reserves, and it was just changing a couple things that they needed to do
Yeah.
on where the money was going. Money is something that you can control.
Hmm.
And when regardless of how out of control you think it is right now, you can control it.
Hmm.
And once you start putting it into the proper places and allocate it correctly in the proper accounts, in the proper investments, which is all financial planning is just planning of where money as it comes in, where it's going to go,
Hmm.
then it can just radically change your life,
Yeah.
radically. And
I love it.
doesn't
You guys give power back, right?
yes.
Instead of money having control over you, you have control over your money.
Yeah, and which I think is the job of what a financial advisor should do. I mean, obviously we show people how to invest and get out of debt and do other things, but it's how do we show you how to control the money when it comes in? And that's been our success because we understand the business side of, pediatrics or these other types of practices, and we can speak intelligently of showing people how to do this, and then they start winning. And that's
Awesome.
the best part, is just seeing a practice owner win. Because
Yeah.
I know they didn't get in it for the money, but it sure
No.
is nice when they have, you know, money
Yeah.
set aside, and
Right.
they know that their retirement's going to be set, and they know that they're going to be debt free at some point in time. And it's just like a release of
Mhm.
tension and stress.
Yeah. You
And
guys also help kind of plan for exit strategy or to start thinking
yeah.
about, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's something that's inevitable. I think anyone that owns a practice is, you're going to have to think about how you're going to exit out,
Right.
and that day will come.
Mhm.
And you just want to make sure that you know exactly what it's going to look like, how you want to exit. You don't want to be like in a position where you have to exit because you didn't plan, correctly. And then I'm sure you want to make sure that you get proper value for it as
Right.
well. I mean, you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. It'd be a shame to get pennies on the dollar for it.
Yeah.
So we certainly will show people like these are the things that we need to do now to plan for this. Um, a lot of it's just making sure you have order in your business
Hmm.
and relatively good systems, and because I know, in dealing with buyers of private practices like that, I mean, there's certain things that they want to see,
Yeah. Can you go
they,
into that just a little bit?
yeah, sure. I mean, I think first and foremost, obviously they want to see that there's a profit in this business.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's
Yeah.
going to give you anything if there's no profit for
Right.
it. So
But they will just
that's
for
why,
you.
oh, but they love me, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't work that way.
Yeah.
That's number one. So profit is important. And again, once you plan for it and you put it in as like a necessity, then you'll have no issues with it being there.
Hmm.
Certainly they want to make sure that there's no compliance issues, so
Hmm.
that because who wants to go in there and oh, there's
Government
issues,
you, right?
government's after you, you got lawsuits all over the place. I mean, who
Yeah.
wants to buy
Thank
something
you.
like that?
Yeah.
Certainly they want to make sure that there's some key leadership positions, that the staff, there's a fairly low turnover in key
Hmm.
positions. Like there's continuity, culture is good.
Hmm.
That's certainly important to a lot of buyers as well. And that you're growing, and that you're not stagnant, and that you're seeing new patients. There's good marketing in place, that you're expanding.
Yeah.
And if you can show, obviously you want to be in a demographically good area as well and those things. But if you can really just, those areas right there, then you should have something that, people will provide a lot of value for. And from
Hmm.
what I'm seeing, in these different types of spaces, it's not unusual for, your business to sell for anywhere from a 5 to an 8 times your earnings, your
Yeah.
profit. So it's like, all right, well, if I got 400,000 of profit times, 7, that's $2.8 million. I mean,
Right.
that's pretty
Right.
good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. Awesome. So, you're trapped in an elevator with a practice owner. What's some advice you would give to them besides take the stairs next time, right?
Yeah. Certainly I would tell them to, um, I think first and foremost, let's treat your practice like an investment and not a job.
Hmm.
Let's make sure that you're doing that. Let's make sure that you have a plan so that you are taking profits out of the business and channeling them to you personally, so that you don't get burnout, because that's what I think burnout comes from, is when you give and don't get anything back. Who wants to be in a position like that forever?
Yeah.
I would say treat your staff really, really well, reward them, but also make sure that they are producing and reward them for that production.
Okay.
And do not reward them for not producing, because you will just get more of that.
Hmm.
What else would I tell them? I would probably tell them that make sure that you have a very good financial team that surrounds you. You don't need it to be big, maybe just two or three, important, I think a financial advisor like us is important to have. A good CPA is important to have, um, just to make sure that, your books are in order and money is being allocated correctly.
Hmm.
And, just have fun, relax,
Yeah, relax, you can do this.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that there should be one person in charge of the finances at
Yeah.
home and in the business.
Yeah, because if you try to do it by committee, if you try to like allocate money by committee, I mean, Congress is the perfect example of that, How much, what are we in debt this month right now? $30 trillion we're in debt right now. So
It's
I
not
don't
working,
know.
is it?
I
Yeah.
don't know that they thought that through all the way when it came
Yeah.
to how to manage the money. But yeah, I just typically like to have one person in charge. It doesn't mean that person like needs to be a expert in algorithmic accounting or anything like that. They just have to, know the basics of where they're at, and there has to be some control over, and like a system of like, okay, if we're going to spend $1, I want to know, and there's got to be some approval that's being
Mhm.
done. And when you have that kind of control in, then money doesn't tend to get lost. When you just give people carte blanche to spend money on anything that they want to, they will.
Mhm.
They will. So that's why we try to say, you need a chief financial officer of your household and your business. Now, the owners end up being the chief financial officer of the business for the most
Yeah.
part, and that's okay. I don't like to give too much control to other people. I mean, obviously you can give control to somebody else to do your bookkeeping and,
Mhm.
some other things, but for big purchases and such, I want to see, okay, what's the purpose of this? Why? What are we doing right now that why we need this $50,000 piece of equipment or whatever it would be,
Mhm.
before we just start writing checks.
Yeah.
So these are all things that I think are really, really important for any business
Awesome.
and
So how does
household.
somebody work with you guys?
Well, it's simple. You can just go to our website, econologics.com, and they can connect with us, and they can schedule an intro call. We'll talk with them about their current situation, and we'll ask some questions about your practice, where you're going, where you want to go, and then ask some questions about what you want to achieve personally, financially, those kinds of things. So that we're on the same page, and we all know where we're going. And this is why I like working with practice owners, because I know I kind of know what I'm going to hear some of the time. I
Yeah.
mean, I get surprised every once in a while,
Right.
but we have so much of a history in working with practice owners that we can, there's not a situation that someone can give us that we're like, okay, I've seen this before,
Hmm.
and this is where we think the successful actions are in
Hmm.
order for you to, achieve what you want. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most beneficial thing. And I know a lot of practice owners like that. Obviously we talk amongst ourselves, and there's some social proof that I think is important
Yeah.
as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I just enjoy watching healthcare practitioners and owners, get to focus on the things that they want to do.
Hmm.
That's really important.
That's amazing. We're just in starting the process too. We've started filling out the questionnaires. So
Oh,
with you guys pretty soon. Yeah.
I
Excited.
love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little
Yeah.
scary because I did see that you said when you start to change things, and I felt this personally,
Yeah.
that there's always going to be something that comes up, kind of
I
a
think it's
barrier.
really, I think it's really important that we talk about that, because it's just not dealing with your finances. I mean, it's anything in life. I'm sure when you started your practice, it wasn't all rainbows, roses, and
No.
unicorns. There was a million things that was thrown at you, and it seems to like come like in a wave, of just like, oh God, can I get some more bad news today, please, just so we can
Yeah.
get it all out of the way right now.
Yeah. In threes at least,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So it's one of those things where I think I use the analogy of that movie Castaway, when Tom
Hmm.
Hanks was trying to get off of the island with that raft, and he could never get over that wave. It just kept pushing him back, pushing him back,
Yeah.
pushing him back, and he finally pushed through it. And that's what happens, when you're trying to make a move to another level of
Hmm.
order and expansion. You're always going to be met with some kind of a resistance.
Right.
And whether it's from other people, which it typically is,
Yeah.
or whether it's just from like, I could write a book on all the things that we've seen. Look, I just had a guy that's looking to sell his practice, and, he just called me up yesterday. He's like, okay, I just got diagnosed with throat cancer. I'm like,
Oh my God.
it's like now it doesn't always get that bad. Usually it's just like, okay, I got a tax bill that was unexpected, or some machines broke down, or some key employees, left, or whatever it is. But just to expect that you're going to get some pushback and resistance. And the successful action is just to put your head forward, confront what's ahead of you, solve one problem at a time, and you will get through whatever it is. And as long as your intention's pretty strong and your purpose is like, this is what I'm going to do, then
Hmm.
it will work out.
Yeah.
It will work out, but it's very difficult to go through.
Yeah. You even mentioned like embracing it, expecting it. Like it's a positive sign that you're
Yeah,
on
it
the
is a
right path.
positive sign.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
doesn't
because some
feel like a
people,
positive sign, but
it doesn't feel like it at all. It feels like I'm doing the wrong thing. It's like,
yeah.
ever since I started, this has been happening. It's like, well, we're not cursed, neither are you.
Hmm.
This is just what happens, in this crazy universe that we're in right now, is that
Yeah.
this is, it's always coming inward, and
Right.
you're trying to go outward. You're going to run into something.
Yeah.
So, it's just overcome it. It's just a barrier.
Yeah. Change is hard and you got to have the grit to get through it. Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That is right.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to, any tidbits or anything else you want to add
I'm
for the
amazed that we covered as much as we did in less than 29 minutes. We really talked a lot, yeah, a lot about, some important things.
book? I'm going to put a link to the in the show notes, but
Thank you.
it finances scare me. Just the terms. My husband's the guru with that, and
Yeah.
it it worked for it's understandable, and it's like, oh, just different ways of thinking things, and we've started doing some of the different accounts for different things and pulling
Yeah.
money in beforehand, and it's been a game changer because it's there.
It's
You know,
there.
it's there. You think
And
it'll be there at the end, but like you said, it's not.
it just isn't. And, so that to me is probably one of the most important lessons that I learned, is that money has to be segregated out, and put into, different accounts for different purposes.
Mhm.
And by putting that control in, it will increase the necessity and the demand. Well, if it's going there, I got to make sure there's enough in here to like pay my bills and do my other things too.
Mhm.
And it's kind of funny how that works. And So that's been the most successful thing that we've ever done with people is to show them how to like pay themselves and allocate that money, especially that 10% account, that wealth
Yeah.
storage account. That's really helped a lot of people. So
Yeah.
we'll keep doing that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get a wealth of information. Yeah.
Anytime you let me know.
I will. I will. All right. Well, thanks for doing this, Eric. I really appreciate it.
Okay. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steph.